So now we'll be starting to code the guns, which are the weapons, since we've done the movement from our previous learning. What we're gonna start with now, we're gonna start with making the bullets for the guns as these characters are going to shoot. So we first need to make a bullet for Silverster. We're gonna make it bullet. We're not gonna rename it anything. We're just gonna name it bullet, and then we're just gonna make it yellow, just to make a yellow dot, and then put a little bit of orange onto it so that it can just give that bullet and fire feel. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna add a bullet, and then we're gonna just have to crop our bullet at least to be in proportion. But first, what we're gonna do, we're gonna first create at least another bullet. We're gonna name it bullet number 2. So we're gonna make bullet number 2. Bullet number 2. We're gonna make bullet number 2. Bullet number 2, and then we're gonna put bullet number 2. We're gonna have color on it. We can use a blue so that it can actually correspond with the first character that we are trying to match it to. So we're gonna make a bullet 2. We're gonna make a bullet 2, then we're gonna just crop it in nicely and then make it in the middle. Just shrink it also so that it can actually fit the character when it starts shooting. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna just resize our bullet nicely so that we are able to have a good size of a bullet when our character is shooting. So what's next is that we need to create at least a torrent. The torrent is gonna be acting like as a gun, so that when the character has to shoot, it will take out those bullets that we've created first into this torrent. I mean, out of this torrent, not into this torrent. So we're gonna just make a torrent for the officer now. We're gonna make a torrent for the officer. We just need to crop it so that it can fit properly, and then we need its origin to be placed properly, because if it's not placed properly, it will create a funny position when we give it life towards the stage. When it comes alive to the stage, it's gonna be out of proportion. But for now, let's just focus on what we're doing. We're gonna create our bullets. So this is gonna be a torrent. Let's make it to be at least blue so that it can be it can match the character. So that can match the character. So we're going to just put an origin to it also, and then we're going to put an image point where our image point, that's where the bullet has to come out from when it starts shooting. But for now, it hasn't started shooting, so we don't really worry about that. But the time when it starts shooting, that's where it's going to start shooting from. So we're going to clone that and just make another one. The one that we're making now, since we duplicated it, it will just say enemy 2. So we're just going to leave it there. We're not going to try to rename it or anything. So I'm going to put the same color, use the same color that I used for Silverster. I'm going to use it on this guy. Then this is going to be our torrent. This is going to be our next torrent. So we have Silverster, we have the blue. The blue is the officer. Then the reds, actually the cold colors are the officers, and the warm colors are for Silverster. So what we're gonna do now, we want that when it's being created on the stage, it must be that when we create Sly onto the stage, he must come with all those things that we have designed. So when Sly comes onto the stage, he must come with all the objects that we've already have put together there. So what happens is we need to program that to say when you are being created. So we say Sly, when you are being created. So when Sly is being created, when Sly uncreated. So we say Sly, when you are being created, this is what we want you to do. When you are being created, this is what we want you to do. And when you are being created, we want you to come with your own torrent so that you can be able to shoot when we need you to shoot. So what we're going to do now, we're going to program the torrent, and we're going to say on created Sly, you must come with a torrent. No, that's wrong. So we need to Sly, say Sly when, so say Sly, when you are being created, spawn another object, which is object enemy gun 2. So say Sly, when you are being created, spawn an object in layer 0, image point 0. Layer 0, image point 0. So we say Sly, when you are being created, please become created at layer 0 and spawn yourself in image point 0. So what we're going to do now, we're going to make duplicate, and then we're going to make officer. So we say officer also, when you come to earth, this is what you want you to do. We want you, when you are being created, we want you to also create something as you are being created. Officer, when you are being created, we want you to spawn gun, enemy gun, enemy gun, enemy gun. We want you to spawn enemy gun. Is spam. Well, if you were to ask me that back then, I would say not ispam, because I didn't know ispam. I would say igan, because everything in Zulu to me, it was to start with E, then you can make any sense of Zulu. But now I understand Zulu, I can't do that. But before, I would say igan, not ispam, igan. So I will just put E on everything. So what happens now, we're gonna we do have our Sly who's being created. We say Sly, when you are being created, spawn enemy gun 2 on layer 0, image point 0. So we also say officer, when you are being created, officer spawn enemy gun on layer 0 on image point 0. So we say spawn gun on image point 0 on layer 0. So now you can see all the objects have spawned their guns. But what happens there is that all the objects, as much as we have spawned the guns, they are useless because of they are not pinned. They are just objects that are on top there. You can see that my character is able to move away from his own torrent, because the torrent has no pin. It has not been pinned into a character. So that's why the character is able to move by itself without the torrent. So what we have to do now is to help the torrent to be able to pin onto the gun. So what we need a behavior that can help pinning the object onto Sly. So we need the torrent to pin onto Sly. Never mind the torrent behavior that we placed there, but we want to place the pin right now. We want to do the pin. So what we're doing, we're looking for a pin. Where is the pin? So we go, here's the pin. So what we want to do is just to say, let's add a pin onto Silverster, so that when it comes out, let it be that we are able to program a pin to be able to pin on top of Sly when Sly comes out. So now let's go. We're gonna do behavior. We're gonna do pin. This slide will give you pin. Then we go in the gun, enemy gun 2 also. We need to do the same thing as we've done to slide. So we're doing this to both the torrents. So let's test it and see what comes out as results. So you can see it's yet not pinned, but it is operational, it's functional. Silverster can move around, but he cannot move with his torrent on top of him. So we want Silverster to move with his torrent as he moves. How do we make Silverster to move with his torrent? So what we have to do now, we need to code what we have inserted. We have inserted the pin behavior. So we need to code the pin behavior. How do we code the pin behavior? We say when Silverster is being created, let it be that torrent enemy gun pin onto Sly. Can you see? So we say on Sly when you are being created, spawn enemy gun 2. Enemy gun 2 pin to Sly. So we say enemy gun 2 when you are being created also. Do not forget about Sly. What we want you to do is to pin onto Sly. So we did manage to pin our object onto Sly. You can see that when we move, we are moving only with our object and Sly. So we have our torrent and Sly moving together. But they're not in proportion. As you can see, it's like as if Sly is hanging at it's like as if the torrent is hanging at the back of Sly or something like that. But it needs to be something that needs to be in the middle. So what we have to do, let's fix our origin, because it means that our origin is not set properly. So what we have to do is just to set our origin to be placed in the middle of our torrent. So we're gonna point our origin, put it into the middle so that it is centered to where we want it to be pinned. We do the same with the enemy gun 2. So now we can test our game and see how they look in proportion. So let's go. You see, now we have all the objects in proportion. You can see that Sly is now having his torrent on the middle of his body. So that's Sly and his torrent moving around. So now Sly has his torrent and then they are bonding, they are good to go. So now what happens, we need to do the same thing when it comes to officer. Officer also, he needs to have his own torrent. He needs to have his own torrent. So what we do with officer, what we did with Sly is what we're gonna do with officer. So what we're gonna do, so what we're doing now, we're placing a line of sight. A line of sight is an behavior that helps the other characters to be able to see the other ones. It's like you're giving your character eyes to be able to see. So what we just did there, we just created eyes for our character to be able to see. So what we're gonna do right now is that we're gonna go to the same character and say, Sly, when enemy gun has line of sight, not has object. Not enemy gun has line of sight. We need a line of sight. So we need to put a line of sight behavior onto our object before we could actually start. So we need to go back and fix that first. We need to have a line of sight. So in the object, we don't have the line of sight. That's why we can't even see anything there. So what we have to do, oh, there we go. We have a line of sight. Then we say, when we have a line of sight to, when you have a line of a loss of sight to the object, you see, then when you have a line of sight to the object, so it means that when the torrent can see, so when the torrent can see who? When the torrent can see officer. So we're saying when the torrent can see officer. When the torrent see officer, what do we want the torrent to do? We say when the torrent sees the officer, we want the torrent to shoot. But right now, let's just program. We say when torrent sees officer, we say to the torrent that it has acquired the object. So when the torrent sees the officer, it would know that already now it has acquired the object. So we don't need to go back and forth with it. We know that when this happens, it means that officer has a line of sight to the object. So now let's go. You can see now we have a pinned torrent that looks like it wants to see the officer. It sees the officer and it sees all of them at once. It can see all of them at once. Yes, you can see it sees all of them at once, but there's nothing that it can do about it. It can see all of them at once, but there's nothing it can do about it. It can see them, it can go towards, it can move towards them, but nothing can happen there because of it is not programmed as yet. So what we have to do now is to program it that when it is not seeing this object, what must happen so that it can actually breathe, because it's not even breathing, it's just moving around. So what do we want to do? We say, okay, sharp, let's put you on invert. When we are on invert, when you can't see, so when we say invert, we say when you don't see anything. When you don't see anything, what must you do? You must just polar, you must chill. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna say, if you're not seeing anything, even unacquired target, it's not necessary. I think we need to delete it because we don't need unacquired target. We just need that to be there. So you can see, let's go. You can see now what happens. It unacquired, like it's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to look for the target and stick into one target. So what has to happen now, I need to just delete that part where it says unacquired. Just put nothing. I'll have to put it empty. There's nothing that has to be there. There's nothing that has to be there. I need to just place it to be empty. I need to delete that. So now let me test and see what happens. You see, now what happens is you see, you can now navigate and you can point at your target. You can point at your target. What we want to do right now, we want it to shoot when it actually sees the target. When it sees the target, it must shoot. So what do we say? We say on target shoot, not on target acquire. What happens right now, I'm going to test it with a has target, right? Not shoot. When it has target. So I'll say when it has target, I want you to see what happens when our torrent has target. Just to show you that when it just has the target, it has the target. It has the target. It has the target. So it would shoot on the target continuously. It won't stop because of it has the target. It will always want to have the target and it will be shooting. So it will shoot a lot of bullets at once. But anyways, before we get there, let me show you what I am showing you. So I'm saying when you have target on, I want you to take out a bullet, spawn a bullet. When you have a target on, I want you to spawn a bullet. I want you to spawn a bullet. Can you see the image point? The image point is where the bullet is gonna come out from. So we say when you have acquired the target, we want you to shoot. When you have acquired the target, we want you to shoot. So the bullet has to have a certain behavior, which is bullet. And the bullet has to have its own speed. So the bullet now has its own bullet behavior. it means that when you shoot the bullet out, it's going to behave like a bullet. What does a bullet do? A bullet flies out. So that's what's going to happen to your bullet there. Your bullet is going to just shoot straight and fly out. So what we're going to do now, let's just test our game again and see what happens. All right, so now we have our game being tested. You can see the bullets are just floating everywhere. They have no control whatsoever, because this is because of he's always acquiring the target. He's always acquiring the target. So the target is being acquired every time. So now he needs to stop acquiring the target. So what we have to do is that when it has target, when torrent has target, so we say when torrent is shooting, on shoot, that's what must happen. Then it has acquired the target on top. So it says target acquired. You can see on top there it says target acquired. But now underneath it has to say when the torrent is shooting. So now it means that the target has been acquired. Now the torrent has to just shoot. Now let the torrent shoot. You can see now the torrent is shooting the bullets in a very, very good order, because it's not the time when it's acquiring the enemy. It is having time to breathe, because of it's when it can only be close to see the target. When it sees the target, it will definitely shoot. When it sees the target, it will definitely shoot. Sees the target, definitely shoot. So automatically it will shoot when it sees the target. When it sees the target, it will automatically shoot. There's a lot of games that you can make out of this model of programming. Plenty games, a lot of games, good action games, as long as you can understand the art of programming. So now what has to happen is we need to make the enemy also shoot, because of the enemy does not see us, so he needs to see us too, because of right now it's unfair for him. We're the one who's shooting at him. He can't shoot at us because he can't really see us. So what we do, we're gonna go to the enemy and say, hey enemy, we need to add a little behavior for you so that you can be able to see us too, because we don't want him to use our eyes to see us. So he must use his own eyes to be able to see us. So we need to add a line of sight to him. So we say line of sight added, and then we're gonna just add a line of sight to our torrent, and then we're gonna go program our game. Firstly, let me see, what is it that I think he's not, yeah, but it's ready, it's fine. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna program the same things that we did on top. We're gonna do for the enemy. So whatever Silverster is capable of doing, meaning the enemy can be capable of doing the same too. So what we do, we're just gonna program what we've done with Silverster character. We're gonna just do it with the enemy character, which is officer. So officer, what we're doing to you, we're saying, officer, can you please, when you come to the party, come with your own bullet. When you come to the party, come with your own bullet. No, not that. What are you doing now? So this was supposed to be an angle motion for the bullet when the bullet comes out, right? So we say the bullet, when it comes out, we want it directly to shoot at Sly, not go anywhere else. We want it to go directly to Sly when it's shooting. But I don't know why am I programming this earlier than what I'm supposed to do. So now we're gonna say when on line of sight, we want officer to, no, we want Sly. So now this is a chasing. It's a chasing setting. So we are setting the officer to chase after Sly. So we say officer. Officer has a bullet too. So we say officer, when you see Sly, please, we want you to move towards Sly. So we say officer, if you are closer to Sly, we want you to move towards Sly, which officer hasn't understood it as yet. He has not learned that lesson yet. So we need to program him properly. So we would say that when you have a line of sight to Sly, when you have a line of sight to Sly, so when you have a line of sight to Sly, this is what we want you to do. When you have a line of sight to Sly, this is what we want you to do. So it actually helps right now because of I did put the line of sight behaviors on the torrents, which I thought, let me just change this and put the line of sight onto my characters instead of putting it onto the torrent. So I just changed that. That's the only thing that I just changed now. Instead of putting the line of sight into the torrent, I put it onto my character exactly. So we say when officer has the same programming, is not really, nothing changes. So when you have a line of sight to Sly, set angle towards Sly. So we say, officer, when you see Sly, we want you to go towards Sly's angles. Which Sly angles do you go? Sly.x, Sly.y. Then those are the angles that you must choose from Sly when you see him. So you say, when I see Sly, when officer sees Sly, officer must go to Sly angles. So officer must start chasing Sly. When officer sees Sly, officer must start chasing Sly. And the speed that the officer must carry when chasing Sly, it must be a speed of 100. So now we need to program also say that when officer does not see Sly, we need him stop. We need him to stop. So what we do is that we say, officer, invert. When you can't see Sly, we want you to stay on 0. When you can't see Sly, officer, we want you to stay on 0. So let's test our game. So you can see they are chasing Sly because of they can see Sly. So now they're all chasing Sly because they can see him. They can see Silverster. Now they can run after him. Now they can see Silverster. They can run after him. So it means that they are smart enough to understand now that they can run towards the character that you have pointed them to run towards. So it's as simple as you say, officer, when you see Sly, set your angle towards Sly, and bullet, set your speed towards 100 when you're busy chasing Sly. Set your angle towards speed of 100 when you are busy. Set your angle on a speed of 100 when you are busy chasing Sly. Set your angle on a speed of 100 when you are busy chasing Sly. So you could see that on the previous test, you can see that the characters, they're chasing Sly without moving with the torrent. So what we're doing now, we're doing the same thing that we did to Sly first, so that it can be able to pin its own torrent when it moves towards Sly. So what we're trying to fix right now, we're trying to fix that. So we're saying let that torrent be attached to Sly. And also we need to set our torrent to be able to shoot like it does on Sly. So we say torrent on shoot. This is what we want you to do. We want you to take out the bullet number 2 when you are busy shooting. When are you shooting? When you have acquired, excuse me. When are you shooting? You will shoot only when you have acquired Sly. When you have acquired Sly, you must shoot. When you have acquired Sly, you must shoot the bullet. On image point 1. On image point 1. So we say Sly, when you shoot, you must spawn the bullet on image point 1. So we need to also program the bullet to have speed. So what has to happen is that we need to also get the bullet to have its own speed. Can you see? An officer bullet speed is 100, which is a speed of the officer. But look, I think right now we need to just program the bullet to go towards Sly when it's shot. We need to program the bullet to go towards Sly when it's shot. So we'll say bullet, when we shoot you, you must go your angle, get it towards Sly dot, Sly dot y dot x, and then Sly dot y. Okay, now we have our angles that are being set, ready to shoot. So we say, let it be that you spawn your angle, okay, now we're ready. You can see the gun is moving towards a lot of angles, and you can see now everyone is coming towards your direction and they are pinned according to how they're supposed to be pinned. But there's a problem now, because of as much as they're chasing you and they're pinned, they are unable to shoot you because of they are not programmed to shoot. So what you have to do now is to program the officers to be able to shoot when they see Sly get closer. Now what you're gonna do, you're gonna just say, when the object sees Sly, when officer sees Sly on a line of sight to Sly, when it has a line of sight towards Sly, what must happen? When officer has his gun on Sly, what do we want to happen? Also, you're gonna take that so you're gonna say enemy gun 2 when you have acquired target. which the target will be Sly. When you have acquired target, so because of there's a fault that I've actually created there, and I could see that I'm actually messing it up. So what happens is I said to this, I did not say it well. So what happens is I need to say to the object, to the torrent, and say, torrent, once you've acquired the object, which the object is Sly, you must shoot. So when you have acquired the object, which the object is Sly, you must start shooting.